US President Donald Trump has touched down in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum, which he will address for the first time. Despite Davos being a long-standing annual meeting of the rich, famous and fabulously wealthy, no invitation had been extended for the property magnate and reality television billionaire before.
It's very exciting to be here. We're very happy to be here. The United States is doing very well. It'll continue to do well, and this will be a very exciting 2 days. Thank you very much. Very exciting.
Up here, Mr. President.
President. Yes,
Within hours of the presidential helicopter Marine One touching down, Donald Trump had deployed his characteristic straight-talking diplomacy, questioning whether Middle East peace talks would ever resume and threatening to cut aid money to the Palestinians.
That money is on the table, and that money is not going to them unless they sit down and negotiate peace. Because I can tell you that Israel does want to make peace. And they're going to have to want to make peace too, or we're going to have nothing to do with it any longer.
Earlier, President Trump rejected what he called false rumours of differences with British Prime Minister Theresa May and promised to boost trade after Britain's EU exit. There is nervousness that Donald Trump's America First diplomacy is about to shake up the global system that underpins the Davos summit.
Everybody needs to realize, whether you are a leader from a small or medium-sized or big countries, that you can't achieve what you want on your own. The world are faced with a lot of challenges, which can only be solved in close international cooperation.
The general mood in Davos is upbeat, with synchronized global growth forecasts. But behind the many closed doors, there is talk of danger ahead. The background report to the summit is titled Fractures, Fears and Failures, a reflection of growing global tension.
Even though the international wealth and the wealth of states and the levels of economic growth and the GDPs of states have grown, the inequality of the distribution is having large-scale political effects.
The fortunes of the world's wealthiest 500 billionaires rose by a quarter last year, while the poorest 50% of the world's population did not increase their income. Campaigners want action.
I'm here to tell big business and politicians that this is not natural, that it's their actions and their policies that have caused it, and they can reverse it.
Donald Trump is due to give the closing speech to the conference Friday.
President Trump will be speaking to two audiences, the ones assembled in front of him and his voter base at home. And I have a strong feeling that he's going to give some strong words in order to show people back home that he has gone to the belly of the beast itself, of globalization, and told them that he stands for America and the American people.
Davos is braced for what could be a dramatic finale Friday afternoon.
Here's a clip of that speech in which Trump warns that he'll want a better deal for the US when trading with foreign partners.
We cannot have free and open trade if some countries exploit the system at the expense of others. We support free trade but it needs to be fair and it needs to be reciprocal, because in the end, unfair trade undermines us all.
Well, for more on that, let's cross to our business editor, Kate Moody, who joins us from Davos. Kate, hello, thank you for being with us. Ahead of his arrival in Switzerland, it was feared Trump was set for a collision course with foreign allies. What can we make of that somewhat toned-down version of his America First drive?
Well, this was certainly a Donald Trump who was catering to his audience in his own way, of course, but he was talking to the Davos crowd. It's the liberal elite who embrace globalization and open borders. He even actually addressed the theme of this year's World Economic Forum, creating a shared future in a fractured world. A lot of people ahead of this speech had said that he was, in fact, the cause, the ultimate symbol of that fractured world. His line was that when people are forgotten, the world becomes fractured. We have to invest in people. So a slightly different Donald Trump than we have gotten used to seeing. The America First message was there. It wasn't as protectionist or as extreme as we might have expected. It came off more as patriotic. And in fact, there was actually a similar focus to the one that we heard from Emmanuel Macron, a focus on their domestic and economic reforms. Both of them stressed the same punchline, really. A few days ago, we were hearing that France is back. Today, it was America is back. Both of them open for business. Really an investment pitch coming from a former businessman and a former banker. Now, it was still Donald Trump speaking. There was a lot of focus on his own achievements, the rising stock markets, the strong economy, familiar lines on both North Korea and Iran, and a slightly softer line on immigration, saying that he wants to ditch the current framework in order to be able to focus on individuals.
And that speech virtually wraps up this Davos summit. What were the main takeaways of this edition, Kate?
Well, everyone had really been waiting for Donald Trump to arrive since this forum opened on Tuesday. He was absolutely the star attraction, the top topic of conversation. And it has to be said that usually at Davos, on the last day, quite a few people leave before the sessions have finally been wrapped up. There were not a lot of departures today, an awful lot of people waiting in line to hear from the American president. That main Congress Center, which fits 1,600 people, was absolutely full to bursting. They'd been standing in line for hours to hear from Donald Trump. He didn't get quite as warm a reaction as he might have hoped, I'm sure, but it was certainly far from, it was not, he didn't get booed. There was no real overt opposition to what he was saying. It was a polite, if rather cold, reception for him.
Kate Moody reporting there from Davos. Thank you very much for that.
We start in Switzerland, where Donald Trump has been speaking at the pro-globalization World Economic Forum to a group of political and business elites. The US president used his address to promote his America First vision of protectionist trade policies, tax cuts and deregulation. He also fulminated against the media, describing them as nasty, vicious and fake. Let's cross live now to Jacqueline Vuger, who's in Davos for us. Jacqueline, what's been said?
Well, it's probably to no one's surprise that Donald Trump did once again use his signature phrase of America First during his speech, which was the last one of the forum. Let's take a quick listen.
We have succeeded beyond our highest expectations. The world is witnessing the resurgence of a strong and prosperous America. I believe in America. I'm here to deliver a simple message. I will always put America first. As President of the United States, I will always protect the interests of our country. America is roaring back. So come to America, where you can innovate, create, and build.
Now, apart from that, he spoke about how the U.S. has changed for the better since the beginning of his presidency, in his opinion. He commented on the fact that the stock market is booming. He reminded everyone of the tax reforms that he recently signed into law and commented on the progress of the fight against ISIL. And he also invited everyone to bring their companies to America, saying that the U.S. is open for business. And frankly, that's a message that we heard not only from Trump, but a number of European leaders as well. Yesterday, when May spoke, Theresa May, the the UK Prime Minister, she said similar things, saying that there's no better time to open businesses in the UK. There's no better time to work on digital technologies than before in the UK. And frankly, Trump said that that is a sentiment that all leaders should have. They should always think of having their country first, but with ties to other. He even went on to describe himself as a cheerleader for America, saying also that all leaders should be cheerleaders for their country, and that it's especially easy for him because he loves his country so much. And of course, Trump being Trump, he didn't forget to mention the media. He said that he's always had a fair amount of media coverage his whole life, that he's not sure why that's the case, but it is. And that before, when he was a businessman, it was always in a fairly positive light. And only after he became president, that changed, and he described the media as being nasty and mean. And he then said that as those comments were coming out of his mouth, he watched cameras in the back of the room turning off. But he did joke that the press coverage of his campaign couldn't have been all that bad, given that he did win in the end. He ended his speech just saying that it was a great forum, that he was happy to meet everyone that he had, and it was a great first experience for him here at Davos.
Oh, a lot said, more controversial statements as expected. Jackie, thanks for getting us up to date with that. Jacqueline Vuga reporting from Davos.
I'm based in Washington, so I'm witnessing all these elements and all these changes firsthand. I'm very worried, actually. If you allow me to borrow a quote from David Lipton, who is a deputy to Christine Lagarde, he said, in today's world, unfortunately, everybody wants to register his car in Ohio. Ohio meaning own house in order, America first to say. So everybody wants to say, I know my house better, I want to protect my house, I want to erect tariffs, I want to design my own tax system, blah, blah, blah. And this is totally, this is a total collective failure to go in that direction. But this is what is happening. And we have to move from Ohio to what he says California. And why California? Because California starts with CA, like collective action. So we are on the verge of moving all to Ohio, where we should all move to California. And this is happening as we speak. So it's important to have strong voices to resist that. It's not enough, but it's a good beginning. So I think we should really, even if we disagree on the modalities, we should really agree on the fact that these things are put on the table. And as citizens, we should put pressure on our government, as investors, as consumers, as people saving money. We should really put pressure on our government to make this happen. Because if not, I think we are ahead of a big, big, big problem.